You know, traps are the most expensive thing that a trapper is going to buy, and that's what makes us a trapper, is our traps. But, you know, we leave the traps out in the weather, out in the elements all the time, so you want to make sure that you prepare them in some way that they're not succumb to the elements all the time, where they're going to rust and not be any good. And what that means is you need to treat them somehow. There's several different options for that. You know, pretty much the classic option is with logwood dye. There's several different kinds of this, but you can get this from a trap and supply house. It comes in a bag like this. You get a big pot of water simmering. You just dump this dye in there. It tells you, it has instructions right on the bag. Put your traps in, let them simmer for a little while, and you want a light coat of rust to be on your trap so that they take the dye real good. But that's one way you can protect your traps. Another option, a little bit more natural option, is black walnut hulls. They serve the same purpose as the trap dye, but you know, if you just happen to have a black walnut tree in your yard, it may be a little bit easier and cheaper option than going with the trap dye. Another line of defense, especially if you dye your traps, is to wax them. And you'll get wax. You can get trap wax in a block like this, and there's a couple different ways. Kind of a cheap way is to just put this wax in on top of the dye that's in your traps, and as you're pulling your traps out, you pull them through the wax and they'll get a coat. That's not the best way to do it. If you're going to wax your traps, dye them, let them dry, and then get you a pot that you can put a lid on and just put a solid, and make a solid block of trap wax in there. And it's going to be kind of expensive at first to get, you know, 8 pounds or whatever, however much trap wax you need in there. But once you got it, you know, all you have to do is add a block at the time here and there, and you'll be good to go. You do want to keep in mind that this can be flammable, so if you're using wax, you don't want to get it too hot, and you want to keep something, a lid or a piece of plywood, handy that you can cover it if it were to catch fire. And then you just want to do 1 to 2 traps at the time. Drop them down in there. Once this is a liquid form, you want to leave the traps in there long enough that the traps become the same, the metal becomes the same temperature as the wax, and then slowly pull them out, let the wax drip off, and then hang them up to dry, and that's going to give you a good coat of wax. Another option, and something that I've started doing more of lately, is speed dip. It's a lot easier than dyeing and waxing. You just mix some gasoline with the dip, drop your traps down in the bucket, slosh them around, make sure they get coated good, pull them out, and let them dry for a little while. Make sure that gasoline can evaporate off the trap so that they get a clean, odorless smell to them, or no smell to them. And then otherwise, you know, for water traps or coon traps, you can always paint them as well. Just use some spray paint. You're going to want to let those air out a little bit too, but the key with the spray paint is you want to make sure you get everything coated good. That's the good thing about the dye or the dip, is when you dip your trap down in there, you know, that dye gets over everything. Whereas if you're spray painting it, you may miss the inside, or you may miss spots here and there. So that's one thing you want to be sure of. You just want to get a good solid coat all the way around the trap, especially if you're running land traps and you're using some type of antifreeze, something that may be salt, some salt or caustic antifreeze. You know, that's going to be even harsher on your trap. So you want to make sure you've got a good layer of protection there.